finally over. Huh? No!
Stars. Stars.
Jill! Jill! Hey, don't die on me. Jill! Jill!
October 1st, night. I woke up to the sound of falling rain. I can't believe I'm still alive. Carlos?
It looks like our roles have been reversed from when we originally met, huh? Don't worry, Jill. This chapel is safe.
I've been infected by the virus, haven't I?
Hey! Take it easy.
I'm okay. Don't feel any pain. But that's what bothers me. If I can't feel anything, then what does that mean?
Don't give up, Jill. I'll take care of you. Whatever you do, don't let that virus beat you.
Hello guys, we are once again revisiting the glorious franchise of Resident Evil and the end of the original trilogy at Resident Evil 3. Just like the other series entries in the original trilogy, this one is going to be remarkably short. Mostly because the way that Capcom designed this game means that the numerous fights and encounters you have with Nemesis aren't actually required. The way that the game is designed, it seems more to the point that you should run away from Nemesis if possible, which is what I did. So we're only going to be tackling the quote-unquote required fights with Nemesis, even though we're leaving about 7 of them on the cutting room floor. If you look at a more complete series for Nemesis, you will see that the times that you can fight Nemesis and you can beat him, you get some pretty cool weapons. I think the first time that you encounter Nemesis, if you beat him, you get an upgrade for your handgun, which is always a good idea to get, especially since the first encounter you have with Nemesis is about 20 minutes into the game. So, free upgrade right out of the gate. I would highly recommend trying to go for it, even if you are on a normal run, and, you know, at that point you would have deficient weaponry. The problem is that every regular fight that you have with Nemesis plays out almost exactly the same. It's a good and a bad thing about the game, because Nemesis is constantly chasing the player, but up until the end of the game, he never revamps or revitalizes his attack style, so if you are constantly fighting him, then it gets boring pretty quickly. Even though the chasing and this main antagonist idea that Capcom went with was a unique form of terrifying, which I'm sure a bunch of people, it's not the best one in the franchise, it gets a lot of stick, but people do appreciate the Nemesis concept at the very least, especially with how iconic Capcom had created this character and created his mechanics. The boss fight that you have with him in the courtyard is technically required because you need to defeat Nemesis to have the chance to go back into the church and complete the rest of the game, because after this you switch to Carlos, and that kinda hasn't make sense, especially since, you know, the exploded helicopter, half the courtyard is on fire, so you can't really just say fuck it and bolt it out of the room. You are going to have to stand and fight him. And essentially, what he is a damage cube. Like a bunch of bosses in Resident Evil, they don't really have good boss design because you're working with survival horror mechanics, so it doesn't work out. You know, it's not supposed to be intuitive, and it's not supposed to be all unique and balls out, unless for the one or two specific highlight moments. So the actual fight is kind of boring and kind of bullshit, just slightly. It's not that bad, but Nemesis's attacks are pretty hardcore. Resident Evil 3 is not Resident Evil 0 hard, so you should have a nice buffer of healing items, especially if you haven't been actually fighting Nemesis throughout the game. You know, that's your choice. You do get some nice ammunition out of the deal, it's just really not your best gameplay idea to move forward to constantly be fighting Nemesis, especially since it's so easy with how his attacks are animated to run around him. He has poison tentacles, which can seemingly grab you with very crappy hitboxes, so the idea is that you never want to directly stand around Nemesis because he can just reach out and grab you with a lot of reach on his part, and the poison hits pretty nicely. It has a decent percentage for him, which makes it a huge hassle, especially since, like all or most of these Resident Evil games, you're not going to be packing blue herbs because they take up inventory space, and the lack of poison enemies really just makes it not worth your while to pack blue herbs in any case. I don't even know if the clock tower actually has any blue herbs in it, aside from the required infinite blue herb boxes, which is always a nice sight to see in a Resident Evil game because it balances out the difficulty in having status ailment based enemies. Beyond that, he also has his insanely deceptively weak rocket launcher, which you should just be avoiding at all costs. Your best bet for dealing with Nemesis, if you don't have any high-power weapons like the shotgun, is to basically just run around the courtyard, get a few feet away from Nemesis, if possible, and just start taking pot shots at him as you can. You don't really want to stop in this boss fight, because then you have just more and more chances to be taking poisoned uppercuts from Nemesis while you're trying to keep yourself alive, and you're just going to be wasting resources using that tactic. So, bait him, run away, take some shots, repeat. Just do that, and you should be perfectly fine. It doesn't have a lot of health. It's your basic amount of health for any other of the Nemesis encounters. So if you have been fighting him throughout the game, this should feel very familiar. The courtyard for all of the survival horror staples that Resident Evil 3 has is a place with a decent amount of space. Your only real problem is going to be that Nemesis loves to use charge attacks, so that space that you're trying to put in between you and it is going to be closed frequently and very fast. So yeah, just try and keep your eyeballs open. Thankfully, Capcom did put a nearby save point, so you're not losing a ton of progress if you fuck this up, like in a From Software game. But otherwise, it's another entry and a very solid boss encounter that puts some of the fear on the table, a lot of the American action notes that Resi likes to hit when, you know, with the exploded helicopter and the rocket launcher sort of thing. Nemesis always has a great design. You know, the fact that he keeps getting up and keeps going makes him terrifying. And it's just a fight with an iconic enemy that, for all of the stick that Resident Evil 3 gets, Nemesis was a great monster, and I'm sure that people still appreciate him to this day. So it's always nice getting to see his fucked up face.